Welcome back to CryptosRus. I am George. We're all George, so the market bell just rung. Today, I'm here to talk about the latest CPI data. How is inflation going in the U.S.? Is Fed Chair Powell very concerned? I believe so. So let's talk about it, and let's talk about everything else that's going on in the world today, including, of course, Bitcoin. All right, let's do this. Welcome. Today, the U.S. market not looking so hot. We had a full week so far. I mean, it's still barely in the green, but it's still in the green. So I guess it's not that bad. But will it get better or will it get worse after this latest reading? Well, CPI came out. And it says consumer prices rose 0.4% in September, more than expected. Well, the headline's always deceiving. It didn't actually. This is versus last year, the headline. But if you're looking at month to month, CPI stayed exactly the same. So if you look at right here, last month in August, it did tick up, right, from 3.2 to 3.7, and that's where we are now. So from September or August to September, CPI overall headline inflation did not go up. In fact, if you look at minus food and energy, this is the core inflation, we still tick downwards from 4.3 to 4.1%. Okay, so you would figure like a day like today, the market should be crashing, right? Because inflation did not go down. Well, if you exclude food and energy, then it did. But of course, you're probably thinking, well, you can't just exclude food and energy because we all need to eat food and we all need to use energy, right? So overall, inflation did not go up. But here's the thing. This is why Fed Chair Powell is concerned. And I'm going to explain why. Because the Fed minutes yesterday that was released basically stated that him and everyone else thinks that we need to have elevated rates for some time until we see inflation go down, right? So obviously inflation is not really going down right now. In fact, we start ticking upwards. And this is a lagging indicator. This is measuring inflation from last month. What about this month, right? In October, oil prices started going upwards because, of course, the war broke out, right? So CPI most likely will not be going down. When we have this measurement next month in November, measuring October, it's going to show it go upwards again. See, that's the thing. Energy is going to go upwards. Gasoline is going to go upwards. So that's the thing. This is kind of like a temporary or artificial inflation because of the war. So what is he going to do then? Are we going to get another rate hike in November because of it? But, he doesn't really want to because the economy is starting to weaken and soften. And there's a lot of talks about commercial banking really suffering. I've seen some people go on TV talking about commercial banking is in an absolutely downward spiral and could collapse any day. There's a lot of people that's fear-mongering right now on CNBC and other channels talking about how bad commercial real estate is. And there are others that are talking about just a general recession. A huge recession is around the corner, right? So what is Fed Chair Powell going to do? If he raises the rate one more time and inflation still goes up, then he's he's stuck between a rock and a hard place because then the only thing he could do is keep raising rates. But then the general economy is suffering more and unemployment is going up. Then what is he going to do, right? So that's why I think he's actually quite concerned. If I was him, I would be very concerned. He can't do anything. I mean, he always talks about he has a lot of tools, right, in his tool shed. There really isn't. He only has two tools. He can buy up assets or sell those assets. That's number one. Or raise rates and decrease rates. That's it. He can't do anything else. So I think he's very concerned. I think overall we need to be concerned because we should be seeing this number go down. And the fact that we have not seen it go down for now 2 straight months. You know, actually, I take that back. For 3 straight months, we have not seen it come back down, right? That's concerning. That is definitely concerning. All right. Now, moving past this, what else is going on? I did also see this. This shows Bitcoin search interest or search results over time, going all the way back to 2020. Right now, there are very, very, very little people searching for Bitcoin. In fact, the same level as 2020, when Bitcoin went down to $3,000, $3,800 to be exact, right? What does that mean? Is this bad? Does that mean retail investors have left and no one really cares about Bitcoin? Well, I would argue the opposite. Look at how scary 2020 was. With the shutdowns, with the quarantine, with, you know, everything else that was happening, right? And Bitcoin plunged below 4,000. And then what happened shortly afterwards? Well, things started recovering. It wasn't as fearful anymore. And Bitcoin went on such a tremendous run that everyone just forgot about what happened in March of 2020 or what happened before that, right? We're kind of at that moment right now. I feel like that's where we are, except Bitcoin, of course, is not below 4,000. We could say Bitcoin is below 30,000. You know, in the future, when I do the same thing and go back and say, well, remember 3 years ago? Remember what happened in 2023? I'm going to say, remember when Bitcoin was below 30,000 and people were fearful? It'll be the same story. It'll be the same thing, right? Right now, a whole lot of people out there, they're not paying attention to Bitcoin. That's okay, because this is not FOMO time. This is not parabolic rise time, right? This is a time to bunker down and stay steady, lads, and continue to hold on DCA. This is the time for that, because we're preparing for that next run, the next parabolic run, right? Now, as for people that are already in the space, we're already doing that, obviously. I've been showing you guys the long-term holders, the addresses, right? Look at this. Addresses with more than 1 Bitcoin, you know, just one example, keeps on going up. So it's not like no one's in the space. There's plenty of people in the space. It's just kind of boring right now. But yeah, most of us are doing exactly that, just bunkering down and accumulating, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do know when things get better, they will get better in a big, big way. And we're starting to see signs that whales and institutions are getting ready. Okay, look at this. USDT whale activity heating up as exchange deposits rapidly accelerate. Why is that? Why do we have rapid deposit of stable coins into exchanges? It's because the whales are getting ready to pounce, right? They're getting ready to buy. They're not depositing USDT because they're ready to sell. They're depositing USDT because they're getting ready to buy. And this is measuring wallets within 1 to 10 million. So obviously the larger whales, but not institutions. When institutions get in, we're talking about hundreds of millions to billions at a time. This is just the whales, right? So there are definitely a lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines, getting ready. I mean, even without a statistic or like a chart like this, you just look at Tether. Tether's at 84 billion. You could just argue that right there. That's 84 billion of USDT sitting on the sideline waiting to enter the market, right? And same thing, 25 billion of USDC. That's over 100 billion in stable coins that could be entering into the market. It hasn't yet. It's sitting there as a stable coin, but it's sitting there ready to be used, right? So yeah, like I said, you know, I know tremendous things are coming. Right now it's boring. Right now you could argue it's not just boring. It's a little scary. Things are getting a little red, right? And I just got done talking about maybe recession, maybe depression. maybe commercial real estate goes belly up. Maybe the bond market goes belly up because bond market looks just as bad, if not worse. And what is Powell going to do if everything spirals downwards, yet inflation is still on the rise? These are questions not for me to answer, for him to answer, and for our government to answer, right? But what I know is Bitcoin is the solution. Bitcoin to me is a solution to all of this. We can only control ourselves. We can't control what our Congress people and our president and our Fed Chair Powell, we can't control what they do, but we can control what we do. And how do you opt out of all the shenanigans, all the troubles that we see? You buy Bitcoin, right? So, Bitcoin bull run to reignite if Bitcoin secures this price level. What price level is this person talking about? They have something called warm supply, and it is right at 28,233. I mean, we were right there. It's not like that's a big deal, but what's interesting about this is if you could look at, the red and the green, right? Right now, we're still in the red. To me, that just shows it's accumulation stage, right? The red parts are when you accumulate. Green parts, obviously, is when Bitcoin goes back up and you could take some profit if you wanted to. Doesn't mean you have to, right? But right now, it is definitely still during accumulation stage. Here's something. Again, we see a lot of fractal patterns, right? Right now, this is mimicking what happened from 2017 all the way down to 2020. Remember, I just got done talking about 2020, right? That horrific COVID crash that scared everyone out of the market, really, right? But what happened when things were looking so dire and people were calling for the death of Bitcoin? What happens? Bitcoin goes from 3,800 all the way to 69,000. That's what happened. So imagine that. Imagine if you're one of those people that got scared out, you couldn't handle it, there was so much FUD, and you were listening to others that were telling you Bitcoin was going to go to 1,000 or go to 0, right? Imagine if you were one of those people, you would have missed out on one of the most tremendous runs in Bitcoin's history, from 3,800 bottom to all the way to 69,000. And if it wasn't for SBF and FTX, if we didn't have that fall from 64,000 down to 28,000 and back up to 69,000, imagine what would have happened. Maybe we would have just shot up to 100,000 if we didn't have that nasty drop, right? Which I would argue was done by SBF and FTX. It came out yesterday that Caroline was ordered to sell off Bitcoin to try to get it down to $20,000, right? Imagine if that didn't happen, we would have had a much higher high in 2021. We had a premature bust in 2021, right? But my point is this, again, when it's fearful, when it looks scary and you just don't know if you can hold out, normally that's the capitulation stage and better days are coming. And I'm not even saying we're like that right now. For some, it may feel like that. But again, are we back down to 4,000? Are we back down to 3,800? No, we certainly are not, right? So, long term, this is what I always say. When in doubt, zoom out. That's it. For every cycles, there's basically four points to look at, right? And basically, we're heading into the third point, which should be, according to this, it'll be pretty high, around 48,000, which is an important Fibonacci level. And then afterwards, 150, 200, 250, don't know, right? Don't know. But what I do know is FOMO this time around is going to be unlike anything we have ever seen before from any previous cycles. That I can assure you. All right. So outside of Bitcoin, what about anything else? Well, I have some Cardano stuff. I know a lot of you guys love Cardano. Charles Hoskinson's Cardano remains king of development. Okay, so one of the things that we pay attention to, or we should pay attention to, outside of price, which is very hard to do because everyone just looks at a price as the ultimate, signal of if something's doing good or not. And in some cases it is. But other times we had to step back and realize, well, these projects are still developing right now, like Cardano. When Cardano, right? People have forgotten about that phrase because they just keep on developing and they're never finished. Right now, they're still not finished. Their development is skyrocketing. They're number one in terms of development. And then you got Polkadot, Kusama, Hedera. You got Smart Vega Protocol, Chainlink, Status, ICP, Cosmos, and Ethereum rounding out the top 10. So, Cardano still, still going, still incomplete, not finished, but that's okay. What do you do in a bear market if you're a project and you're not Bitcoin? You build. You build and you build and you build and you wait for the bull run to come, right? And all of these on here, I would argue, yeah, that's what they're doing too. I don't know who Vega Protocol is, so that's the only thing that stands out to me. Also, I guess I would say Polkadot and Kusama stands out because I don't hear a lot about them, yet the development is quite high. Interesting. But anyways, going back to Cardano, what else is going on? The number of stakers keeps on going up. It kind of makes sense because what are people going to do with the ADA if they're not going to sell it? They're going to stake it, right? So look at that bump from July going into September, right? You can see the number of staked ADA has skyrocketed, right? And continues to go up. People that love Charles and people that love Cardano will love them forever, basically. They're not going to sell. So it's a good way to hodl, just to stake it and earn, some staking rewards. I believe for Cardano is around 5% or 4%. No, it's like 4%. But 4% is better than 0%, I guess. So, yeah, that's also happening. And lastly, for you guys that are in the AI space, Sophiaverse, which is from Singularity.net, who happen to be at Cypherpunk, yeah, they're partnering up with Decentraland. Not a whole lot of people talk about Decentraland anymore. Not a lot of people hanging out in there. But they're creating this new research center. Basically, you can see development of Sophia the robot. You could also interact with her, and there's other things that they're working on. So that's kind of cool. But right now, no one really cares about metaverses other than Zuckerberg continues to develop new Oculus glasses for the metaverse. So besides him, not a whole lot of people care. But when the bull market comes, okay, when everything gets, hot again, people will care. All right. That's pretty much it. Unfortunately, we went from the green to the red. That's no good. Let's see what happens. Bitcoin and overall crypto market cap slightly down 1%. This week has not been so good for crypto. All right, let's do some Q&A. All right. Let's see what I missed. Troy, Hugh, Sultano, welcome. Pete, Quinn, welcome. Swashbuckling, Scallywag, All right. All right. Still scrolling. Okay, not a whole lot of questions. Just a lot of comments today. Tyler on gaming said, I've not heard anything from Dot for an entire year so far. Yeah, I haven't heard much. So I'm actually quite surprised the development is through the roof. Altcoins to dump more this upcoming quarter. It really depends on how the market is. I mean, right now, there's no doubt Bitcoin's leading the way, right? And Bitcoin has been leading the way. It's at 50% dominance. That's about right. Remember, traditionally speaking, in a cycle, altcoin season doesn't come until like the last year. Really, it's like the last half of the last year. That's when altcoins truly shine. So right now, in this cycle, even though altcoins are not doing so well, they're doing way, way, way better than the previous cycles. Way better. If you're looking at altcoins in 2020 or 2019 or 2018, you would cry. You know, they were doing much, much worse. So right now, altcoins are doing the best of any cycle for this period in time, right? In this period in the cycle. If you're holding on ETH or BNB or XRP or anything, right, in 2020, you would literally be crying. Lazaro, this is not for everyone, but we're still standing. Yep, that was my point. You know, if you're looking at Google searches, very little people are searching for Bitcoin, right? Very little new people outside the space is looking to enter the space. But, you know, they're missing out. The whales are certainly looking at it. The institutions are certainly looking at it. But the general retail investors, they are not. And general retail people, I guess, just common, you know, average Joes are not, right? But unfortunately, they're going to miss out. We're in a better spot. We know the truth, and we are accumulating before things get hot. Thoughts on Bank of Ghana working with Cardano and Hedera? Good for them. I don't really have any thoughts beyond that. Thoughts on cornucopias game on Cardano? Man, that game has been in development for a long, long time. I remember that. Isn't that their metaverse game? The hyped up metaverse game? I remember covering that like back in 2020 or 2021. It's been a long time. Papa Bears, in your opinion, you think the initial move from ETFs is large, immediate, or gradual? I would say there's an immediate bump, okay, then it becomes gradual because we're not past the halving event yet. But after the halving event, we will see that gradual turn into immediate, then turn into large interest, okay? That's how I see it. But upon getting the first approval, we will definitely see a bump for sure, right? And then after the halving event, that's when the volume starts picking up. That's how I see it. Chris asks, what is your recommendation for taking profits when we do pump? Does it make sense to switch back to fiat? Does it? It doesn't matter. Most of the exchanges, you could swap to stablecoins or fiat, and you could buy in just as easily, right? But I just recommend having a large cash pile, no matter what. 25, 30, 35% cash, right? That could be in cash or fiat. And the reason why is it allows you to continue to DCA and accumulate. But also it forces you to take profits, because if we do go up, not if, when we go up, you know, you're going to see that cash pile diminish, or at least a percentage versus the rest of your portfolio. It'll start diminishing, and that's when you know you need to take some profits and put it into cash, right? Kind of lock it in. That's how I see it. Is DFK's future bright? Well, I have been talking to the people within. I talk a lot with Dreamer, a lot. Really cool dude. Yeah, they have some big plans. They just released their heroes, not their heroes, a PvE system, right? And it allows people to go battle now and go hunt. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. And I know they're working on other things, but you know, right now it's building up interest once again, which is really hard in a bear market, right? But I'm more excited about their Mythic swap. Like, I think that could be a huge thing going forward. It's going to be a cross-chained swap, a completely decentralized swap, order book style that, you know, any game could list their asset on for trading, which is unlike anything else out there. So I think it's going to be really good. No, I didn't say I talked with Dreamer from DFK. Do you think ETH can go lower? Well, the overall market goes lower, of course. It's going to go lower. But just know this. If you're holding on ETH, okay, in 2018, 2019, 2020 even, you would be crying right now. Okay, just know that. So ETH and everything else, from prior cycles like alts, they went down not just 90%, they went down 99.9%. Okay, I'd like to remind everyone that in March of 2020, Ethereum dropped below $100. $100. It did that in the low point in 2018 too, when it fell down to like $88, I remember. And I remember talking to my Patreon people at that time, and I'm like, yeah, this is a good time to be buying Ethereum when it's under 100. And it happened again in March of 2020, right? So as bad as alts look right now, like Ethereum, they are doing way better this period in this cycle than any previous periods in any previous cycles outside of the parabolic, you know, phase, right? Outside of altcoin season phase, alts are doing way, way better. Way better. Like, seriously, if you're holding on Ethereum or BNB or, you know, Cardano, I remember Cardano being at like 5 cents all day long, every day. Never moved. Never took advantage of it. I mean, I remember all these. I remember BNB. I picked up BNB when it was under $10. Like, I remember those days vividly. Alts were dirt cheap. You know, fire sale. Even all the way back, even until 2020. It wasn't until after the 2021 run, after all the DeFi and NFT projects and DEXs and liquidity pools came out, right? It was those things that have made the ecosystem more sustainable. Otherwise, if we didn't have those things, otherwise Ethereum would be at like probably $200 or $300 right now. Danny. Only the strong that has a stomach for bear market will make life-changing wealth. And your show helps ease that pain. You know, not everyone wants life-changing wealth. Some just wants life-changing wealth, and that's okay. Or just to attain financial freedom, right? To allow you to be able to break out of your chains of your 9 to 5 and do whatever the hell you want, okay? That alone is worth, I don't know, worth a lot. It's priceless. You think Arweave is better than Filecoin? I do like Arweave. I like it better than Filecoin. Doesn't mean it's better. I think it's just, it's there's greater potential because it's much smaller market cap. They're the backbone for Solana. They're their own L1. It's interesting. When do you think the money printer comes out? It's already out, man. It's never been turned off. Nate, I got I don't have it today, but I've been talking a lot about our debt, the US debt situation. We're accruing over $1 trillion now per month because we have no debt ceiling. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I didn't even know that the debt ceiling was removed until 2025, and now we're at an unsustainable run of accumulating debt. Unlike anything in the U.S. history, I mean, it's just insane. I don't have a debt chart, but like if you're looking at it, it took America like I don't know how many decades to accumulate $1 trillion of debt, and now we're getting it, like every month. It's just insane. It's just insane. So there's only I mentioned this the other day. There's only three ways for the U.S. to make money. Taxes, okay, which yes we see taxes go up, but it's not enough, right? Another way is to borrow. That's why we keep having more debt. We borrow by issuing bonds and notes, just treasuries, right? Luckily, right now, the dollar is strong, so other countries are buying it, right? But that's not free money. That's a loan. Every single treasury that we sell is a loan because we have to pay it back sometime. And we have to pay back interest. The interest alone is over $1 trillion per year now. Think about that. So, and the third way to make money is to literally print money. So when you can't pay back the debts and you can't pay back the interest, what do? You try to raise taxes, but if that's not enough, then you turn on the money printer and print. And I don't think the money printer ever stopped. I think it's been printing all this time. I mean, that's it. There's only 3 ways to make money for the U.S. It really comes down to that. I don't know how else, as a country, you make money. That's it. Taxes, issue treasuries, and print more money, right? And when the money printer is available for you to use, because now there's no debt ceiling, right? You could use as much as you want. And that's exactly what's happening. Like, I can't break it down any easier than that. But if you think about it, that is a horrible system. The absolute worst system that you can have. But that's how it is. That's just how it is. Oh, yeah, I don't know how we're going to get out of our situation. This is why it's so critical and crucial for the dollar to remain the reserve currency of the world. Because if the dollar wasn't the reserve currency of the world, and say it's some other currency, well, then other countries may not be buying all of our treasuries. They may be selling them and not buying them. And if other countries stop buying our treasuries and we can't borrow money anymore, guess what's going to happen? That money printer is going to be on all the time, all day, every day, printing trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions, right? So right now, I think we're kind of curbing it by issuing more treasuries, and people want that dollar, right? But one day, when they don't want US dollars, they want some other currency, maybe Bitcoin, that's when the US will be truly in trouble. And that's when we will start seeing hyperinflation. What other English-speaking country would you choose to live in? That's interesting. Interesting question. I've never been to England. Maybe England. I've never been to it. I hear the food in England is really good. Food in Europe overall is very good versus the US. I've been to Canada. Canada's like it's like the US. So yeah, I mean you could go to Canada. I don't know. I hear great things about, like, for example, Singapore. You know, half the citizens in Singapore speak English. I hear really good things about Singapore, so that is also an alternative, although I've never been there. Yeah, I don't know. Tyler says England's very nice. Probably other than the weather, right? Because it like rains every day in England. Food in England is good. You've been lied to. I mean, like, not like taste wise. I mean, like, quality wise. I hear, like, you know, milk, cheeses, foods, like meat overall are just better. Better quality than the junk that we have here in the US. I don't know. I met two or three people from England. And when they eat Chipotle, or like, I don't know, just American food in general, they get stomach aches because they say it's just all processed garbage. But, you know, back in England, that doesn't happen. I don't know. I'm just taking the word for it. You guys tell me if that's real or not. NASDAQ is holding strong today. Very strong, which is surprising. Alcohol in Singapore is expensive. I'll take my chances here in the States. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever move out of here. I mean, to be honest, unless, you know, I retire permanently and I go live on some exotic island somewhere. But I think I'm still gonna be in the U.S. no matter what. Thailand is fun. U.S. has the best tasting beef. I think we probably have the most cows per capita of any country. If I had to guess, I would guess America has the most cows. That's probably why. I don't know if our beef is the best tasting. Kobe beef or Wagyu beef, you know, they're pretty good too. But if you eat too much of it, it's just too much. Chipotle meat quality seems different than it used to be. You know, I'll share an interesting story. When I was filming the next Crypto Gem, Leia, who is from England, but she's been living, I think she's been living in Miami for a while, so I don't know why it was such a big deal. I don't know how she eats, but every day, you know, she would get like upset stomach problems. So like everything we got catered. Like they asked us what we want to order, you know, and I think only one day we had Chipotle, right? And she ate a little bit and had an upset stomach for an entire day. And then the other days, I don't know what she ordered, but she was also having problems, and she was just telling me how food in America sucks and this and that. So just interesting thing to share. Buying beef from a local farmer that doesn't have any vaccines or antibiotics, I think, is best. Yeah, but most people are too lazy for that. If I want a steak, I go to a restaurant or I just buy in the grocery store. I'm not going to go to a local farm to get their meats. You know, I don't even know where a local butcher is. I mean, I'm not in the city. If you're in the city, maybe it's easier. I don't know. That's just too much work. What can you say about ETH Classic? It's garbage. That's what I would say. It's garbage. Will there be a season 2 of Next Crypto Gem? That's unknown at this time. I don't know. There may be a spinoff or a different type of show. I don't know if there's actually going to be a season 2. I buy a quarter cow every year and put it in the freezer. So you just it takes you a year to eat that quarter cow? Is that what you're saying, Keith? That's a long time. Eat Wild has some. I don't know what Eat Wild is. A store, a butcher store. All right, guys. Had enough. Let's call it a day. CPI, so. I think it has Fed Chair Powell concern, because if inflation creeps up again, he's gonna have to raise rates, right? He's gonna keep on raising them. Raise the Fed fund rate one more time in November, maybe another time in December. I mean, he might have to keep going if inflation keeps going up. But the problem is the banks are no good. Unemployment is on the rise. The number of jobs is falling. And, you know, what does he go do then, right? What I do know is this. We stick with Bitcoin. That's really it. All right. Smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.